Hey everybody, Mills RX here coming at you from the training room, where today we're going to be talking about J.K. Dobbins. Now, he didn't play in the second half of the Giants game, and I was wondering, along with many people in the flock, what exactly was going on. Now, a lot of people were saying maybe we're just riding the hot hand, and Kenyon Drake was definitely hot. He ran for over 100 yards and a touchdown for the first time in like 2017, I believe. So that's definitely something worth. Um, he deserved all the touches he can get. But in the second half, when we saw Mike Davis come back as a change of pace back and not saw JK again, JK only had 7 touches for 15 yards. That does not sound like him. So we were saying, okay, something was definitely up. So let's take a look at what potentially could have happened to our RB1. Okay, see right here we have the training room, and let me go ahead and get my laser pointer. There we go. Now we're in business. So let's take a quick look at his injury history, and big shout out to the fantasy doctors. They This is from their injury draft guide. Now, say if you want to draft somebody high with this relatively good player or draft them, but wait a minute, they have red flags all over their injury history. If you get the Fantasy Doctor Injury Draft Guide, which is colloquially called the Injury Draft Bible because of how comprehensive it is, then you can dominate your league and have a better understanding of when or how many players get injured. So go to fantasydoctors.com, get the injury draft guide, and you could dominate your league. Now, in 2016, JK fractured his right fibula, and that required surgery, and he missed some time. In 2019, he had a grade 2 high ankle sprain, which caused him to miss time as well. In 2020, he unfortunately missed a game because of COVID. In 2020, he had a rib injury, and like when he popped up on the injury reports 2 or so weeks ago for 2 weeks straight, it was a rib bruise. The rib cartilage injury is kind of what the quarterback of the Chargers, Justin Herbert, what he had. And JK most likely had a rib bruise, and the big injury that caused him to miss the entire season. He tore his left ACL, he tore his left LCL, his hamstring, and also his lateral meniscus. We'll get to that a bit later. And he had surgery on September 7th, 2021 for Dr. Neil L. Autriche. Now, if that name sounds familiar, he is the Rams and the Lakers surgeon, and he pioneered an innovative way to do the open Achilles tendon procedure, and he affixed an internal brace to Cam's Achilles tendon, which actually helped it heal faster, and that's why I was able to get on the field a bit faster. But this was the exception, not the rule. Normally, it doesn't take. Normally, one person can come back from Achilles tendon that quick. That's just his innovation. So JK was definitely in good hands. Now, we heard knee tightness. You may also hear knee soreness. My knee locked up, but all this falls under the blanket term of knee irritation. And all that is anything or something is happening inside of the knee that's causing it the function to be lower, or something that is causing the patient pain or discomfort. Now, there's many causes. Previous injuries, as you saw, JK has many. Mechanical problems, that's actual problems with the joint itself, or physical stressors like trauma. You accidentally fall off a bike, a dude tackles you, things like that. That anything that affects the overall structure of the joint. And the main structures that normally get affected because of near irritation is normally soft tissue. It's another blanket term. You hear it from it means tendons, ligaments, cartilage, muscle, etc. You get it. And because there are so many things that could fall under knee irritation, I did a best in worst case scenario. The best case is just mild bruising and inflammation to the soft tissue, mainly up here to the articular cartilage behind the patella or kneecap. And it's also provides some lubrication to the quadriceps tendon, or also the quadriceps ligament that combines your quad muscle to the kneecap. And right up here, this normally gets inflamed. This could also get some bruising, and it could affect, when you extend your knee, you can get a little bit of pain. And so, yep, that's it. And he'll just be day to day. He'll miss a week, possibly two, and this is the best case scenario. Now, two things that are most common because of this is a knee bone bruise and a grade 1 sprain. First, starting with a knee bone bruise. This happens any damage or any trauma to the bone itself. This is your femur or your leg bone, and or your tibia, which is your shin bone. Now, normally, what happens on a knee bone bruise, it happens, right here. You can see on the side view, this is a side view of your knee. It normally happens in this area. There could be some fracturing, there could be some bleeding, there could be some discoloration, and it's very painful. And depending on the severity of it, it could keep them out 1 to 4 weeks. I put it right there. But normally keeps them out 2 to 3. That's in the middle of it, so that's a good thing. Also, it could be a grade 1 knee sprain or an MCL sprain. Because normally when the knee is sprained, the most common ligament is the MCL, and this will be a new injury because, as we saw before, JK hurt the ACL and the LCL. Now, we also saw this with Travis Jones. He hyperextended his left knee, and that caused him to miss he missed 3 weeks, and it turned out to be MCL injury. So, and he hurt this ligament right here, the MCL, which is on the inside of your knee. Just a quick lesson in medical terminology. Medial means inside, as you can see. Posterior means in the back. Just think of your buttocks, or think about the rear view mirror behind you, and see it's right here in the back of the knee. The anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, is in the front. Anterior means frontal. So this front view would be an anterior view of your knee. And you can see better on the side view right here. Here it is in the front of the knee. And the lateral collateral ligament on the outside of the knee. Just think about when a quarterback pitches a running back or a wide receiver a ball in the backfield. You want them to get to the outside, to the perimeter, so they can potentially cut up field and score a touchdown. So this is on the outside, and this is normally where people get tackled, on the outside portion of the knee. And it's normally 1 to 3 weeks. I expect JK to miss 3 weeks, just out of precaution. Now, the worst case scenario or scenarios would be a grade 2 MCL sprain. Now, we saw Devonta Smith from the Eagles. He had a grade 2 MCL sprain in either last preseason or two preseasons ago, and he actually missed 6 to 8 weeks. That's because it lingered. Normally, it's 4 to 6, but he came back in about 7 weeks, and he joined probably like week 2 of the season, and that's when this ligament is almost fully torn. There's a deeper tear because in a grade 1, it's normally overstretched, hyperextended, overworked, or there's a micro tearing. Grade 2 is a deeper cut or a deeper tearing to the MCL, which is not good. JK could have possibly re-injured or possibly even tore his meniscus. Now, remember earlier when I said he hurt his lateral meniscus when he hurt his ACL, MCL? This is a lateral meniscus right here because it's on the outside. Now, the meniscus is tissue and connective tissue that absorbs the shock that the femur, your leg bone, pushes, that would exert on the tibia. Now, this is a shock absorber. It absorbs weight and disperses like It absorbs weight and disperses it to throughout the knee, so it's not just all on your tibia. So it's not just on this one bone. Now, JK had surgery on this meniscus, and every time you have a procedure on it, you lose more and more of it. Another chunk, you start losing more and more of your cushion, and you could get to a point to where it's just bone on bone, and that causes a lot of friction. The bones deteriorate. The joint itself actually becomes brittle, and that's not good. You may get like a Brandon Roy situation, who was a guard who played for the Portland Trailblazers in the 2000s up to about 2010 or so, and he actually retired early from the league at like 27 because he got to a point where it was just bone on bone. He could not run, he could not lift off for a jump shot without coming down and feeling pain. Now, a rare injury would be the PCL injury. That this one normally doesn't get hurt by itself, because normally if the ACL gets ruptured, there will be some PCL damage because these two are like intertwined. They work together. They help extend your knee, sorry, and flex it back. Extend, flex it like a swinging gate, because these two work together. And if the ACL ruptures, there's probably some PCL damage, but it's rare that it gets injured by itself. Dalton Schultz, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, he has a PCL injury right now, and he's been ineffective when he's in the lineup, but he's been in and out because he's in pain. He's just had surgery to fix it and just sit out the 4 weeks, the 4 to 6 weeks that it will take, and until he will feel better. He would come back, later in the season, like kind of after the trade deadline. But the worst case scenario would be an MCL PCL complex injury. Now this is really rare, like one in like 350 of these happen, but when they do, it's catastrophic. And this would hold JK out for the remainder of the season, because that's at least a 9 to 12 month recovery, and that would not be good. So let's hope that these two weren't hurt just like the ACL and LCL were, because that would be the worst of the worst scenario. Now, let's take a look at an MRI of an MCL sprain. Now, this is your femur, it's your tibia, and right here is the interior portion of your knee. Now, the Ravens medical staff, when they get this MRI, they're going to focus right in this area right here, right in this area, because this is where the MCL originates or comes off of the tibia right here. So it's called the medial tibia region. This is where it originates right here. And this is normally where you would see a lot of the tearing of the MCL. As you can see where the arrow is pointing to, this is a tear, pretty deep tear too. This may actually be a grade 2. This may be a grade 2 right here. But you get the point. This is tearing to the MCL. And if I were to see this, I would immediately shut down J.K. Dobbins for at least 3 weeks. He's not touching that field for 3 weeks if I were to see this. And then I would reevaluate the 4th week. And then if he gets medically cleared, then we'll start rehab. And but first we got to stabilize the knee. Once the knee is stabilized, then I start PT to strengthen it, and then to potentially get rehab so we can get him back on the field. Now, the most common and what I believe he has is this knee bone bruise right here. See, this is femur, tibia, tibia. Now, you see how all this region is darkened? This is healthy bone tissue right here. Now, the lighter regions where the arrows are pointing to, this is where the trauma is or where the damage is. And as you can see right here, this is the biggest one right here, on the medial, as I said, on the medial aspect of the femur right here. This is where you can see some fracturing. This is where you can see bleeding. This is where you can see discoloration. If you were to take a look at this, this is potentially what he has. And this could be 1 to 4 weeks. It's a very vague timeline depending on the severity of it. But he's missing, I'd say, at least 2 weeks. And like with the MCL, I would hold him out 3 weeks and reevaluate on the 4th week. Okay, yeah. And here I am. Hi. Just wanted to, yeah, that's what I believe happened to J.K. Dobbins. And because of that, he could potentially be out for any number of weeks. We don't know. We have to wait for more information to come out, but I believe it's a knee bone bruise. And could be MCL sprain, could be bruising. We'll wait and see. But yep, that's what I think. That's what I think was happening with J.K. Dobbins. This is a very pivotal week because I'm not Ronnie, Rashad Bateman, Justice Houston, and Justin Houston have not practiced. They've missed 2 weeks of practice. If they don't practice on Wednesday or Thursday, rule them out for the Browns game, and also rule them out for the Bucks game because it's a quick turnaround. We play on Thursday, week 8. Monitor Ben Cleveland because that foot sprain may be worse, and we may get Justice Hill back. So but he didn't play last week because the hamstring was still bothering him. So, yep, that's the training room. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a like down below. Send me any questions, comments that you may have. And if you like this content, I'll try to do more of it throughout the season. And hopefully, you won't see too many of these training rooms because we already have enough injuries. Once again, it's Mills RX here. Have a nice night.